Hi there, and welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and we're exploring the wonderful region of the Cotswolds in southwest England. We've decided to revisit the centre of the region and find some hidden gems, places that are not quite so famous, but still just as beautiful. And today you find us on the edge of a town called Ampney. Now, Ampney itself is quite a large village, almost entirely 20th century. But on the edge of it is its old church, dedicated to All Saints, that you see behind me, a wonderful manor house, and it's a real treasure trove. We're going to show you around. Come with me. Driving into the village of Ampney, it's clear that most of the architecture is 20th century. There are a few old stone houses with stone slate roofs, but they are few and far between. It's also clear that this is a thriving community, with a locally run shop, a loud and very happy-sounding school, I guess it must have been break time, and it shows all the signs of a great place to live. But nothing really of interest to us, however. You kind of could be anywhere. Another small drawback is it doesn't seem to have a pub. A passing stranger from a nearby village tells me that there is some kind of local statute that forbids a pub. I don't know how true that is, but it seems a shame. I do know, however, that this village was established by the Knights Templar, who were founded in 1120. Surely there must be something left behind by this extraordinary group. Sure enough, some half a mile from the centre of the village, all on their own, we find the church and the old manor house. Our immediate thought was that the village must have had to move away from the church for some reason, and it would appear that the bubonic plague or Black Death of 1347 was probably responsible. You can see in the fields in front of the church the undulations in the ground where the old buildings used to be. Some of you may remember we discovered the same thing at nearby Ampney St Mary, where the little church was left completely abandoned and isolated for the same reason. It must have been bad in this area. Of course, we will get to the church in a moment. Believe me, it's worth waiting for. But meanwhile, this village has a history of a more modern kind that very much deserves our attention. Firstly, it was the birthplace of Ralph Vaughan Williams, one of England's most distinguished classical music composers. His father was vicar here, and Ralph was born just over 150 years ago. The village is extremely proud of this association, and we find an exhibition in the church relating his life and reminding us of the extraordinary music he wrote, much of which, of course, was religious in nature. Looking east from the church gate, over the lumps and bumps of the long-abandoned village, just visible in the distance, is what is left of Ampney Aerodrome. This was a World War II airfield from where the Royal Air Force Transport Command carried the 1st and 6th Airborne Divisions of the Air Dispatch Regiment and the Airspeed AS-51 Horsa troop-carrying gliders to Normandy and Arnhem during the invasion of 1944. The field then acted as a casualty clearing station, flying wounded men along with their field nurses, known as the Flying Nightingales, in and out of Europe. So unassuming a place with such an heroic past. The manor beside the church was probably built for Sir Edmund Hungerford in the late 15th century when he retired from court in 1470. The Hungerford family had owned the estate since 1374 and were a highly influential lot. One of his 19th century descendants, another Edmund, was a great pioneer of the Red Cross. It must be something in the water. The house has, of course, been altered and extended many times since then, and repaired after several fires, not least that in 1973, which resulted in the majority of the inside being rebuilt in an elegant neo-Georgian style. Having spent a great deal of its life lived in by tenants, it is now a private family home and not open to visitors. And so to the amazing Down Ampney All Saints Church. Built, as I've intimated already, by the Knights Templar and consecrated in 1265, this cruciform church is truly wonderful. The early English tower was probably built at this time. Look for the lovely four-bay arcade of arches on each face of the tower, with the bell openings in the central pair. The spire is probably 100 years or so later. As you walk in, you'll notice the flower decorations all over the arches and pillars. They were originally 13th century, repainted over the years, and each is supposed to represent one victim of the bubonic plague. This village really was decimated. Obviously, the most striking thing about this church is the woodwork. There is a complete rood screen with an exterior wooden staircase the wardens are adamant we shouldn't climb. I just managed to resist, I promise. There's a large carved pulpit, a lectern, pews, choir stalls, reredos, and an organ case. They're not as old as you might think. They were made to a design by Charles E. Ponting of Marlborough, by Harry Hems and Sons of Exeter between 1897 and 1907. But they give us an insight into what so many of our churches would have looked like before the iconoclasts of the Reformation did their worst. In the south transept, there are a couple of wonderful effigies of Margaret de Vallers, who died in 1320, and Sir Nicholas de Vallers, in armour with a sword and shield, who died 5 years before her. And in the north transept, Sir John and Sir Anthony Hungerford are shown kneeling under a canopy. This was put up in 1637. In 2022, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Ralph Vaughan Williams' birth, the vicar of Down Ampney, the Reverend John Swanton, his wardens and the parochial church council instigated a project to commission a new stained glass window for the south wall of the sanctuary. It's a striking and exciting window designed by Tom Denny, and on a spring day in 2025, the sun threw amazing colours all over the altar and floor, exactly as you would always hope church-stained windows would. A really amazing church. I hope you've enjoyed our little trip around the outskirts of Down Ampney. It really has been exciting discovering this little church. And as you can see, the rural scene behind me is absolutely blissful. We've enjoyed this spring day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon so that we can let you know exactly when we put anything up. And we'll see you again very soon, somewhere else in the Cotswolds.